Good morning, everybody. This is Chrisi from SolsticeATR and Vulcan Capital Research. I will be covering for September the weekly outlook for the market. I'm going to go into two different details, a little bit about the overall, what I see and what I don't see, as well as equities. I hope you enjoy it. I will try my best to keep it as simple as possible for you guys so you can understand what I'm looking for and what can the market give us. There's three things we can do. Look above and go, look above and fail, come back in range and fall through. Or we can go down, look below, go back up, look below and fail and continue, or be sideways action. And I will show you why. First of all, this is the weekly chart of the combination of the four instruments, the Fortune 500, the NASDAQ 100, the small cap Russell, the canary in the mine, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is limited to the amount of equities that we see. So if we look at it, we had an up week, a consolidation week, a down week, then an up week. We have not been able to clear the top or clear the bottom. We've been range bound between the 50 simple moving average, this up channel up here, and this down channel here. And we are in a box. In order to clear, we're going to look up and go, look up and fail, come back in range. Or we can fall through here, look below and go, look below, come back up, or go inside this range. Let's go look at the daily chart before I break it down into the four instruments one by one, then go into equities. Okay, let's just zoom into this area to show you what we're looking for. This was the Federal Reserve Board interest rates decrease, the tariff war, and since now China said, you know what, we're not going to retaliate, we're going to work with the Americans to solve this trade wars. The market looked at it on Friday as a good hope that something's going to be done. We've been range bound, gap down, come down, gap up, gap down. These are gaps basically. Now on Thursday went up. Friday we looked up, couldn't hold the high, came back in. This is the 50 SMA. If we can clear 39,100 area here, which we can move this oval to the other side, let's just remove it. And we remove this one here, and we'll just mark it. That way you guys know what we're talking about. I'm just going to put two little ovals. If we clear the 39.1 area here, this is go. And if we fall through this area, this is basically a failure of this channel. This is the gap that happened on Thursday. So we're going to either get out of this box or stay in range. If we can go above and look, we can clear here. We're up back to the races to the upside, because remember we had a down channel here, then another one here. We eventually broke up. It's just the third symmetrical triangle that we are sitting in order to break out. Okay, let's go look at the Fortune 500 company. That's the ES on the daily chart. Okay, here we go. Let's just zoom in. Remember, I have three channels up here. This one, there's a middle one, and there's a lower one. What I did, I created a symmetrical triangle in here. There was this channel here that we broke out. Then we tried to look above, then failed again, tried to go back up. This is basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We tried to get to the 50 SMA. Look how clear it is. It hit in the overnight, that 46.5 area, couldn't get above it. We traded in the 44, 42 range, came back down to the 2900 and stayed in that range. And we tried to close up above the above the Thursday's close. We ended up closing a little bit under that by around 29.20, because this was the 26 close. Remember, after 4:15 in the afternoon, we still trade at 4:30 for a little bit longer. This is why the price here shows -3 instead of -5 or 6, where we closed at 4:15 in the afternoon. This is a very critical area, that 61.8. And if we can clear this up channel, Remember, we have this channel and this channel here. We are in the symmetrical triangle. As long as we don't fail, we're going to look higher. So we're going to remove this oval. I'm going to remove this oval, put it to the right. All we're doing is just putting them a little, on either side. This is the 200 SMA, but this is the 2775.75. But I'm going to put one here on the 200 SMA. And I'm going to put one right above the 50 SMA in this area in order for us to see if we can go above and continue. So this is a little bit off, but we'll just keep it up. And what I'm going to do is break it down into the volume profile at the end of the video, so that way I go in a little bit detail, so you have to wait for that one. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ/NQ. The NASDAQ is in a similar situation as DES, but you can see that triangle is that we had one down here, then we had another one here. We eventually tried to look at the 50 SMA. We looked at it more than once. If this is gap and go, we don't fold back in, to go down to this oval, or the other one on the other side, we're going to go up and go. I think if everything's going to work out, it looks like a little bit more stronger. I'm going to put the oval right here, and I'm going to put one down here at the 200 SMA. So that's what I see. We are still in that triangle, that box. We can, once again, go look above, fail, come back in the range, look above and go. Or we can fall through, look below, come back in the range, or look below and fail. So my scenario is bullish, okay? Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average before I go to the small cap. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has looked at the 50 SMA like the ES. This was the prior oval. We had this oval down here that we're going to fall through. We didn't fall through it. We went up, looked above, but the Dow actually closed a little stronger than the S&P because, it's a more of a 30 companies of the, overall market, not the, 100 or 500. So what we're going to do is put an oval here for the breakout. And we're going to move this one to the other side and remove this one from out of the charts. Let me remove that one. And we're going to keep one right in this area. That's a 200 SMA. This is the line I would look into, which is this channel here. And what I'll do, I'll put an oval right on it. So we'll just make it a little bit bigger to the upside. So when it comes in that range, your eyes are on it. Let's go now, break every instrument one by one before I go into the equities. I'm going to look at GC, which is the gold sector. Remember, 1508, I had called it and I said, look, be careful, 1508 may be a reset to go higher. Eventually, we came into the 1508 range in here, went back up, came back into it, looked above. We basically had 1550. Now we are failing this channel on the daily chart. This 18 SMA, if it doesn't hold any longer, which is around the 24-25 area, and we fall through this prior channel, this is basically, we're going to look for the retracement in this area where we took off from. I'm going to put a big box here like we did in this area, so that way everybody understands we're looking for this area for a nice rebound, okay? I'm not bearish on gold. Remember, we are looking for a positioning in to be long or to be short. We are a little bit overextended on gold. I'd like it to come back in, break this channel, come back into the 50, 38.2 fib, where we broke out of the 1440, 45, 50 area to go back up. Because you are so far away on the daily from the 50 SMA, about 100 points from that 1565. So keep an eye on that. That's very important to see what the trend will be. Because remember, this is part of the fear gauge and currency war. Let's take a look at CL. Oil has been in the range. Let's just zoom down a little bit to show you that it's been in a down channel where it's in a cone. It's trying to do, basically try to look up, come back in, try to look up, come back in, try to look up, come back in. And if you notice, this range from here If we can break above this channel, we had this oval, which we're going to remove, put it a little bit on this side. If we break through this channel, that 61.8, I'm going to put a little very thin one here just for our eyes. The second target would be up in the 59, this area where we broke out of, okay? So this is the mark down. If we fall through this triangle, remember, this is a symmetrical triangle. We can grab this connection to this one. We're going to grab it in a straight, create a channel up. And if we can hold this area, that would be a great, basically, if we can hold this channel, we don't fall through here. Our target is basically back to the down bottom, which is here, this oval. We put an oval here, so that way you guys know what I'm looking for. I would like to see oil, because I think if they can work out something between the sanctions in the oil sector between Iran and the United States and what's going on in the Eurozone, it can cause oil to go back spiking up in this area, back into the resistance area, and eventually break out. Remember, we had this oval. I'm going to keep that oval here because this was the big breakdown that took us down. We created a cup. If you see, this is a shoulder, this is the head, this is the cup. And eventually, ever since, we tried to go, we had lower highs, higher high, lower high, higher low, higher low, higher low. But from here, we created a higher high. If this channel doesn't break, I would like to see the 61 and this channel break out, eventually look into the 59 with a 50% fib and come back where we broke out of this area here, eventually go back up. Let's take a look at the VIX gauge, the /VX. This is the fear gauge. Okay, let's just zoom down a little bit. If you notice, every time we spiked up, we came down, spiked up, came back down. We spiked up. Now we're in the consolidation because of all this noise that's happening in the market. We are in a symmetrical triangle. As long as we don't lose 1675, you're going to be bullish. We'll put an oval here on the fear gauge. And if you're above the 2150 area, 21 quarter, that's going to be a little bit above this area, which is the 2150. It's going to be bullish, and what I'm going to do is put one right in this area, just right above that one. You see what I did? I created two just to watch if there's a breakout above the channel, this down channel, and I'm going to put one right here below the 50 if there is a breakdown in the channel on the other side. So we have this one here for either side of the channels, and we look for either break up or breakdown. And I think if the fear gauge doesn't have any strength and things do work out between the Euro Brexit exit, the China tariff, the European Union, Germany, and France, Spain, Italy, and everything starts to create a little bit manufacturing internationally, importing and exporting in the United States, balances out stuff with the euro in Asia, I think things will tend to shift to the bullish side instead of the bearish side. Let's take a look at some of the large cap equities. We'll start with AAPL, because this has been acting according to the tariff. If you noticed, Apple in the last week or so, on the noise between the push down after the earning report, the dividend that it got paid, it's been basically going back and forth in this channel. We have an up-down channel here. We have an up channel here that we draw. We are in this box. If it's going to break out, we're going to look above that 61.8 to the 213, 212. This will go up to the prior high. This was the prior channel that we broke down from. We have an up channel here. We have this symmetrical triangle. We're going to put an oval if we can break to the upside, or if we can fall below this 198 would be bearish. Let's take a look at the Amazon. Amazon seems to be in a box, being trading in both sides of the area. I would like to see Amazon, eventually break above that 1791 in order to continue higher. We tried to look up, couldn't clear it. This is the area that it needs to get above in order to run. If it falls below that 1750, 1748, be careful of it. We'll move this, we'll keep this oval here. We'll just put this one here. All the other ovals on this side where we fell through, this is going to act as support. Remember, I put one right across from here, which is here. This one, we're going to get it out. It's no longer valid because this is part of the gap. Remember, we have this big gap here. We'll just put one like this just to show it. We'll remove this prior high. Remove drawing. Remember, we are part of this consolidation here. When we looked up, we came down, took off. Now we are in this area, cross this area in a box. In order to go, we need to clear this in order to get to the 38 and 50% fib and the 50 SMA and see what would happen. You know, those companies, the large caps, are acting a little bit weaker than others. Let's take a look at Facebook. Facebook had a kind of a, U-turn on Thursday. Wednesday was down, Thursday was up. We cleared the 18 SMA. Friday looked above, closed just a little bit slightly above Thursday's high. So basically we have to clear the 38 and the 191, 192 area 50 in order to continue back to the 198. That would be the up target. If it falls through here, the back target would be down here. So we'll put an oval in this area, and we'll put an oval in this area. So the other ones, I will take them off. This one is still here. We touched it. When we can remove that one. Remove drawing. This box, which was the gap, we basically retested it, filled it, no longer valid. That's why we put that box here. Remember, we had this gap here, this gap here. So this is the 200 SMA. It's catching up to the upside, and the 50, remove drawing. So it's catching up basically to the 200 SMA. Let's take a look at GOOG. GOOG seems to be in the same situation as Amazon, but it's a little bit on the upside. But if you noticed, if you consider this the cup, and this is, side action here in this range, we haven't fallen through this, gap or that bottom channel down here. Remember, I tried to draw a down channel. We looked above it on Friday, went up and closed a little bit below Thursday's close. If this is going to continue and go higher, has to clear this area here where we fell down from. These two candles that took, and I'm just putting an oval in this area so you guys can see it. And this one, if it falls, the backside of it would be the 38.2 fib. This down channel, I don't think it's going to come back to it at this point, unless, we can fall through this area here, which is the gap. And I'll put the 50 SMA here as my first support, which is the old daily, Fibonacci, but we have a 50 at 1150. If this can hold, that would be great to the upside. It doesn't look as good. Let's take a look at Netflix and NFLX. Netflix on Thursday was a little bit more bullish. On Friday, basically came back in the channel. We're still in a down channel. We're trying to clear the 18 SMA. If we can clear the 18 SMA and this down channel, what we can do, grab this area connected to here, and keep that channel in our mind, and the bottom as a support level, this here, that 288 area. Then we have a possibility of doing something different. We'll keep this channel here. We got the 18 SMA. See, I just kind of drew it roughly. So if we can come back and clear the 18, we can come back to this area here. Let's just put an oval there. It doesn't look one of the greatest charts. Remember, we are in a down channeling on Netflix. But if you can see Netflix, since it's in a down channel, this is, like a big cone. Remove drawing. We remove this one. I don't like it, below this area here, because if it does lose that 288, there's nothing to support it, because this is the gap in it, and eventually it can come back all the way down. But if this is going to hold and this makes a round bottom and baselines and goes back up, this is the target. If not, the down target would be the first one, is this gap here, which you can see in that consolidation of these candles, and eventually we'll put one just right on that area, the first gap, which is, where is it? A little bit higher, there we go. To the upside, a little bit lower. This is it. So we know either, we break up, look up and continue, to get to the 50, which will catch up to here. If it falls through here, there's nothing for the support till down this area here, okay? So we'll put one more down here. Okay, so let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla's a little bit in a kind of, when we had this down move, we consolidated, you see it, and we chopped lower. Is this going to be a U-turn instead of doing this and continue lower? Is this area going to chop and break up and continue higher? And I'll show you why. I'm thinking this is an up move in Tesla, like it did here in this area. When I saw it coming in, I go, hey, it's going to come into that 180 area and U-turn. And this was a nice U-turn. We took it all the way to 220. We tried to get back in here. It happened in the overnight. We couldn't get back in it on the second move here. And it took off. We missed it by a little bit. So if you noticed here on the reset, we couldn't get back in it. And it took off to the I had 256 to 58 as target. We went looked above it after that earning report. It dumped. Now it's channeling. This is the first time that this channel we broke out of it. We looked at the 50 SMA and the 38.2. I would still consider this channel as a down channel. I know we looked a little bit above this one. So what I would like to do is put an oval in this area to see if we can get to this area up here first. If we fall through this down channel here, then the target would be below the support, and I'll put an oval here to this side. So remember, we are in this symmetrical channel. You have a 50% here, you have a 38% channel here, and a 61.8. If we can clear that area, I think the up target is here first. Let's take a look at Wind Resort, and I'll do one oil and one bank. Wind Resort is doing a W. If we can clear this up channel from before, our first target would be the 38% fib and the 50% Fibonacci and the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA, and I'm going to put a small oval in this area. If we fall through and cannot make it, remember I had this lower target, so we'll just remove it here, and we can come back into this consolidation into this area here. Hope this was helpful. On these, let's take a look at the ExxonMobil. Haven't looked at it. XOM. Haven't looked at Boeing. The same thing is making like a V shape. See, it's in that down channel. If we can clear this area, that 70, it's going to be looking good. Let's take a look at the BA Boeing, I believe. Boeing, remember, I kept saying, the 350 is a big range in, the up channel, down channel. This is my 50% fib. This is the shorter time frame. On a longer weekly, that area has been supported. When we went to the 319, we looked basically either at the 23%. Since now we can invert it, we can go 100, 78, 61, 50, 38, and 23%. We touched the 23%. We are now in the 50% range. If we can break out of this big consolidation, I think Boeing target would be this area from the gap first. If we fall through, you remember I have this oval here. If we fall through, then the backside would be the 225, 230 area first. Let's take a look at Goldman Sachs, GS. Goldman Sachs, you can see that the banks are making a W. If we can clear that 50% fib, 50 SMA, our back target, remember these two, when we looked up, we can get back to the 212 area. Let's take a look at Visa. Similar situation, consolidation to the upside, people still using credit cards, MA, MasterCard, similar situation, new highs. And let's take a look at the Treasury bond, the ZB is a 30-year Treasury, it's at the high again. If you look at the ZN, similar situation, that's a 10-year note. Okay, we can see that there is a discrimination because discrepancy, I said not discriminate, I should say the discrepancy between the bond market and what's going on in the yield, because they're trying to keep the yield inverted to the downside because Trump wants them to decrease another quarter basis points or maybe half a point. The Federal Reserve is saying, hey, maybe everything is okay. And there's just just so much noise out there that's causing a lot of headache. Let's go back to the ES and finalize what I see on a daily chart and an hourly chart in order to understand what's going on. Let's go to the, first of all, to the style. We're going to go from standard candle, we're going to do the monkey bars. If you notice, this is a 20-day, 78-minute, and there's a reason, because the market doesn't close till 4:15 in the futures. If you notice, this is the last push down. We looked down, came back up, and these are the pucks. If I zoom in here so I can explain them a little bit more. Value area high, value area low, puck. That's where we closed. That's where the most sentiment is. Same thing, value area high, value area low, puck neutral. Value area high, value area low, puck closed here. So every time we're pushing, this time when we look down, there's a little gap between 2905 area and the 2890 area. You noticed it here, but I don't want to do this. I want to go to this high here. If you notice, that was 28.99.50. Let's call it 28.99 plus or minus. And we have a little bit more higher range, which is in this area where the value area 2905 area. So I know there's a gap in this area, and if you fill it, if you don't consider this one, and you go to this high here on from Wednesday, that's 28.90.50 to 28.90.50 all the way to up here. There's a volume gap in this area. We have to keep an eye on it if we're going to fall through. And on Friday, if you noticed, we came back, tested the low at 29.13 1/4. So if we fall through this area, it's only this area that we have to consider if this is going to stay bullish or bearish to continue higher. And on Friday, we looked up, came back in. We stayed around the 24 area for a long time, 26. Eventually fell through and closed around the 20. But remember, the 4:15 market closes. Then after the 4:15, we open up at 4:30 for a little bit, and they closed the market. They pushed it back up to that range. If you notice, the POC is a little higher compared to where most volume transacted around the 29 area. So if this is going to be bullish, we are in an up channel. If you notice, this is an up channel at a 45-degree angle. As long as we are in a 45-degree angle and we don't fall through this area here, I think the sentiment is bullish to look above and continue and finish the 50 simple moving average to the upside. If I go back to the 4-hour, I'm going to zoom down a little bit. If you noticed, these two pucks have never been revisited. So I know the higher targets are up there in the 29.80 area, 82.88, then eventually the 22.23 area to continue in this area. So if we can clear this area here, the 88 is very critical to 82.80 area to continue back up, because this is the area that we fell through. If you noticed that this is the area we fell through, we need to come back and clear this area in order to continue higher. And if you notice, this is like a W and M, whatever you want to call it. This is consolidation in the range till this is resolved. So we are basically compressed in the move to the upside. Hope this was enjoyable for you guys. I look forward to seeing you at Solstice ATR, and please do check us in on YouTube and subscribe. It's a free weekly video. You can hit the subscribe button so you can receive it in your email, and we look forward to seeing you. Take care and enjoy your long weekend, and hope to see you on Tuesday. Take care.